Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all had a phenomenal Memorial Day weekend. I know we all did. Pardon my voice. I'm a little bit raspy from a banger of a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert. Those guys refuse to stop rocking and rolling. But welcome to the NFT Morning Show. We host this every single weekday outside of federal holidays, as you probably could tell yesterday. This is where we discuss the latest developments in the NFT market, what trends you need to be watch out for, how the market reacted to it, and what may happen next. I'm Clemente. I'm going to be your host today, and we are joined by an absolute rock star crew with us. We have Pio, who's looking tan and absolutely phenomenal today. We got Nick with a new camera angle. I don't know what's going on, but I like it. And then we have Spencer, Kicks, and Easy, some absolute experts and rock stars. Can't wait to dive into what we have going on today. Yeah, Nick, you're absolutely crushing it on the angle front. But yeah, just to start out, guys, how about a little Memorial Day 3-day weekend? Pio, how we doing, man?
I'm good. I heard one of the new Chili Peppers records. I didn't know they're on tour right now. Tip of My Tongue, very good song. I've heard that the new album is on fire. It sounds pretty damn good. So you were in San Francisco, Clemente?
Yeah, those guys know how to rock. I went to this music festival in Napa Valley, and they had like Duran, Post Malone, and like Sheryl Crow. It was a crazy diversity of awesome people, but it was a good time. But
youngest child there,
it was a lot. Yeah, it was I would say the demographic is like median age of like 35 to 40. But people were saying, like, again, I don't know what it is about. I don't know if it's the beard, but people were like, no, dude, you're at least like 30. I fit right in. For some reason, some people think I look older than I actually am, but that's a story for a different time. Nick, I like the new angle. I saw you posting about it on Twitter, getting some different reactions. What went into the redesign here?
Well, I was just wondering about desk layout. Actually, if you look visually at this room, it looks worse from observing the room. The feng shui is just not as good here. However, I thought that maybe just the positioning.
Hair looks great. You've been using Rogaine or something?
I know, finasteride, which is Propitia's generic type. And it's been working great for years. There's still a little bit of a note on the back of my head where you can kind of see the beginning of hair loss.
Looking at the back of your head.
In my 20s, that's when that started. Had I not started taking that at 26, 27, I'd probably be bald. Not probably, I'd be full on bald. So, they say it skips a generation. Every generation is bald.
It is skipping a generation. It just skips both. So it's just a whole lot of, it's like a whirlwind of baldness. It's pretty cool. So I was in the Hamptons this weekend, right? And one of the guys that we're with, really funny guy. Look, he's going bald. He's basically bald, right? But I was impressed because someone took a picture of him laying on a couch. And I mean, first of all, I would never do this. I would never show someone a picture of the top of their basically bald head and then basically be like, you're bald. Like, I mean, that's like kind of a big thing to do. And just with so much confidence, almost like delusional confidence, he really did not care. He just goes, I got a lot left. He was just like, I got a lot of hair left. And I was like, wow, I got to get like that.
I mean, when you're going bald, it means you just have an insane amount of testosterone flowing around your body, right? That's what causes it, right? So you're just literally more of a man than most of these other soy boys that aren't going bald. That's literally what balding is.
And you see, this is why I own the most NFTs that have ever run on this stupid stage, because I just have so much testosterone here. I'm pumped up. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. I'm here to buy your bags. There we go. End of the day. End of discussion. It's up only.
Look at this. The guy's got the biggest bags on the stage. He's also got a party shirt that he's unbuttoned.
And the least hair.
And
so,
the least hair.
Correlation.
Memorial Day's far from over for this guy. I mean, look, if we ran the numbers body composition wise, he's got bigger hands. He's just an alpha. Nick,
He's absolutely locked in. And but one quick thing that I was curious about is I heard Turkey is the best spot in the world to get a hair transplant.
it is.
Yeah.
You
It
go
is.
over there and apparently they take great care of you. So yeah, I've been hearing a bunch
Yeah,
of
they
my
from-
friends.
Pull it out of your butt and put it in your head. It's pretty good.
People
you seen-
from LA go to like, think about it. You live in LA. It's like the plastic surgery capital. They're like, nah, I'm going to hop on a plane and go over to Turkey because it's legit the #1 place for the hair stuff. Apparently you see people after the surgery just everywhere. Spencer, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, have you seen the pictures of the flights from Turkey to the US? It's just people row by row with like the bandages on their head from the hair transplant surgery. It's like crazy. I mean, but kudos to them for finding like a national export, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet the climate has something to do with it.
everyone
You know,
comes
they should
back and they've just
probably-
got Turkish hair.
Oh, yeah.
Kicks, you're saying the climate has something. I want to
Yeah,
hear this.
maybe like a good amount of salt in the air. You know, isn't that near the Dead Sea?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know where
That's my
you were-
theory, anyway. So you can
Well-
hate it, but it's right.
Nick,
Well,
it looks like you
anyway,
wanted to
all
say
right, enough.
something.
I did, but Clemente kept talking over me. So maybe you could step that up, Clemente. Maybe you can pay attention to the fact that I wanted to say something back in conversation A. We're now on to D at this point.
No, I think the issue is people are readjusting. You guys were getting used to my 5-second delay. Now I literally have 900 megabytes down, and you guys are having to readjust back to me with just that
Megabits.
0.1 millisecond comebacks. It's okay. We're gonna get used to it.
But well, and your framing is beautiful. Now you see the back of a computer monitor as to show you to demonstrate.
Well, I came in this morning, dude. I tried to turn on my camera, it wouldn't turn on, and then I look up and I said, "Where's my camera?" It fell off the stand. It was on the ground. You know.
Also,
I
you have
checked
the
wooden
Huggies,
board to see if there's
in the
any
bottom
dings.
right corner here.
You got
Yeah,
you,
dude.
you-
Those are for me too, not even my kid.
There's only 2 more people for Clemente to speak over. Easy, start talking.
Listen,
Okay, Clemente, go.
That's Nick. I don't know if you know this. The host job is to just speak over everybody else instead of throw to them.
Got it. Okay.
So that's why you don't host, Nick. You don't understand
Okay.
that part. You know, you try to throw to people and let them talk.
You just mow them down. The thing I was going to say is this throwing back to the testosterone was this space is all testosterone, no substance. We saw Kevin Rose this weekend comparing the size of his
Drawdown?
collection to Bored Ape Yacht Club and how the price had performed. And that's the #1 thing that he was doing this weekend. He was like, yeah, you know, the other day I was looking at what the US dollar difference is of Bored Ape Yacht Club versus
you
Moon.
got to start denominating in Singaporean dollars. It's the only one that matters.
Well, the only distinction is if you bought Bored Ape Yacht Club in the first week, you'd have made basically $1 million. Whereas if you bought Moonbirds in the first week, you'd be crying because you lost all of your money, and the collection team doesn't seem to give a shit about communicating anything about the holders, but instead about their own concerns.
Wait, this thing is like even more absurd than you made it sound, because his argument is that if you bought at the top a Bored Ape, you are down more in US dollars than if you bought the top of Moonbirds, but not percentage wise down more. Just like you have lost more US dollars if you
Of the
because
ape itself, excluding, like, does that exclude ApeCoin? Does that exclude?
yeah, it excludes all the airdrops. So it's just it's like not really a correct statement, right? Like this is like Bored Apes
It's
are
an
not
odd-
even down more.
Yeah,
They're down
they-
significantly less. Like, would you go from the 150 ETH floor to a 40 ETH floor, or would you rather go from a 40 ETH floor to a 2 ETH floor? Like, do the math there. And we're not even counting the heavy metal airdrops. We're not even counting the land airdrop or the ApeCoin airdrop, which all happened after the all-time high in ETH prices of apes. Like, it's just the most ridiculous and out of touch statement. And it's like, there's only one of two things going on here. One is he like literally doesn't know the math and is just trying to say, yeah, like they were at 150 ETH and now they're at 50 ETH. So you've lost 100 ETH. And like, but Moonbirds, you've only lost like 38 ETH, right? Because they were at 40 and now they're at 2, which like, who cares, right? Because if you, percentage loss is the only thing that matters. So either he like is just willfully misleading people, or he doesn't get it. But neither is a good outcome. Like it's just the most like upsetting and frustrating thing. Is like, do you think people would let you slide on this? Like, do you really think we're all that dumb? Do you think this little of us that we care so little that we would just be like, oh yeah, like you're right. It is interesting that apes are down 100 ETH instead of 38 ETH, and not pay attention to that. Oh, you guys are down 98% versus like 60%.
Yeah, I was going to say it's one thing to let it slide. It's another thing. I think he genuinely might have thought that he was going to say that, and people were going to be like, you know what? He's right. Like,
right. Yeah, I was at a Memorial Day party, and one of my neighbors told me that he is like in a crippling amount of debt. And I told him that compared to the national debt, that like it's like compared to the national debt, like we have trillions of dollars of debt. I'm like, dude, you're 100 grand in the hole. Like, you know, top to bottom, you're fine, bud. Figure it out. Like we got bigger problems at the country level. I think you can figure out, get a second job. You know what I mean? You're going to be fine. Go hit up David Ramsey. You know what I mean? You're going to have trillions of dollars of debt, man. You're going to get through this. Here's a beer. Okay. It's a Founders All Day IPA. It's a great percentage. Drink it up.
Founders. What? That okay.
I thought,
Nick,
I thought you were when you said he was in debt. I thought you were referring to Kevin Rose, and I was like, "What?" Like Kevin?
No, he just bought a $20 million home in LA. He's fine.
One other thing that K Rose talked about is, I mean, this one actually to me is more concerning if I'm like a Moonbirds holder or a K Rose fan, is he pointed out the success of the Pudgy Penguins toy drop, and then pointed out the lack of success of the V Friends toy drop, and was like, those are the same thing. And one was successful, but one wasn't. Like that was the other clip.
Such a weird comp. Like, and he had a space with Thread Guy, and I got to ask some questions because he was like, we're a very data and analytics driven organization. We look at statistics, and these projects launched like
NFT statistics does. So
well, they specifically mentioned Sam too, which is funny. And then I went up and I was like, well, okay, so let's break this down. You mentioning that the projects that launched in a bear market with less users are getting better reception, but you launched Peak Bull for your oddities. Those have only trended down. You launched Peak Bull for Moonbirds. Those pumped and then trended down. So I'm just curious, like, what that meant. And his response was like, well, you're looking at blur watch trading. And I was like, okay, all right. Weird kind of like pivot, but that works, I guess.
He's right. He's right. Well, look, I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna let you guys do the show. I got to prepare for the Bitcoin show today. Big show today. That's happening at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. We got Balaji on, Lynn Alden, Nick Carter, and others. It's gonna be crazy, but I'll see you guys later.
Is quite nice.
Sorry, Nick.
His LA show is quite nice. Oh, sorry, house.
Oh, LA house.
LA
house.
Rose
Checking it out.
Yeah. I just went and checked it out, and boy, that's a real nice house.
Yeah, you can throw a hell of a raccoon off those stairs.
Forgot about that. Yeah. I'm out.
Yeah, you see that house is only worth 18 mil now, guys. You know, it's unlike those New York houses down.
He bought it for 16. So
you go.
He got a cost savings. I don't know where in LA this is because it has a lot of trees and a lot of greenery. So it has to be. And considering this house, my guess is this is out. They call it LA, but this could be like Encino or wherever, like somewhere not
away from people.
It says Brentwood actually.
Oh yeah, Brentwood's high end. Yeah.
I've never been to LA, so I couldn't tell you. But guys, let's get on with the show here. We got a jam-packed one today, including, I thought, a little bit of Kevin Rose becoming the main character over the weekend. But we're going to discuss ordinals continuing to surge and taking over the timeline this weekend, hitting another big milestone of 10 million inscriptions. Nakamigos surprisingly coming back and being the top winner of the weekend in the ETH department.
Wait, sorry, is this the weather report that you're reading?
No, this is just a little blurb. And we also have the upcoming June catalyst that you need to know about. Speaking of the weather report, Kicks with the new and improved Wi-Fi. Are you ready to take us home with the weather report?
I'm so fucking ready, dude. I went to sleep at 9:30 last night.
I got some sleep last night too, baby.
I honestly was worried that Nick was going to put me on PIP if I didn't get my stuff under control, show up to the show on time. I bought a 50-foot Ethernet cable. Okay. It's running through half of the house right now. just bobbing and weaving, 800 megabytes up and down. But you guys don't give a shit about my Ethernet cable.
What you got?
What you give a shit about is the weather report. Today's Tuesday, the 30th of May. Total market volume coming in $28.8 million. We got Blur at 13.2, OpenSea 6.3. Looking over at the leaders, Apes 45.1, Mutants 9.8, Punks reclaimed 50 ETH. Azuki still chilling around 15 ETH, just below that 14.6. We got D-Guys at 8.4, Captains 9 ETH. Texted Easy about that this weekend. He said, yeah, I told you to buy it at 1.2 ETH. Hope you got in there. Pudgy's 4.9, pretty big retracement there. Moonbird's 2 ETH. After a bad Kevin Rose weekend, it didn't even go down in price because it can't go down any further. Over the weekend, OXBT hit 100x from mint. The BRC20, you were able to free mint some of it. And if you minted in the public phase for $12, you could have gotten 5,000 of those tokens. The value for 5,000 of those tokens hit $1,000 this weekend. So that's a lot of money. Nakamigos are back from their lows of 0.2 after Ben.eth bought more than 300 Nakas, spending over 400 grand. The spending spree brought the collection back up to 0.7 ETH. Ben's just spending y'all's money everywhere. Jack Butcher ecosystem was flourishing after new season packs were heavily oversubscribed. Season 3 of Opepens featured a collab with artist Bats. All-time high sale of 9 ETH for that collection. Opepens continue to soar in floor price despite pack reveals. Those are sitting at 0.84. You could have gotten those at 0.15 about like 10 days ago. So that's a cut. Lastly, Pudgy Shark Toys went on sale Friday night for $250, instantly sold out, trading for a cool 5x on secondary. Shark Toys have been high as 1,000. That's also known as a 4x from 250. We'll have to get some math guys in the studio. Crypto, Bitcoin 27.8, Ethereum 1900, Solana 21.2, Ape isn't budging 3.2. Back to you in the studio, Clemente.
Talk about a phenomenal weather report there. You sound absolutely crisp. The movement is just incredible there.
I feel loose in my shoulders. I have actually a really bad neck injury. I was having a bad golf day last week, so I tried to overswing, which is generally what you do to improve a bad golf game, and severely injured my neck. But I'm feeling great. Thank you.
Well, you look great. Nick, you wanted to jump in?
It overswings. I just see him like launching something.
Oh, yeah, dude. People used to make fun of me because sometimes I'd hit my driver so hard, I would end up in a knee. Like I'd be on one knee on the ground. I'm like, that's not healthy.
Well, look, some quick stories here just to add on from the Nifty Daily Digest. Don't forget to subscribe at thenifty.com. Get your email in there because you're going to need it to mint the free NFTs. The first story is in collaboration with Doodles artist Burnt Toast. Red Bull unveiled their first digital art collection featuring art from 61 different artists. At a mint price of $5 each, over 13,000 NFTs were purchased during the Nifty Gateway Open Edition, with proceeds going directly to the artist. So great to see Red Bull taking further steps to enter the space. Second story is tickets.
Really give a shit. I don't know. They followed all the influencers. This is like a random marketing campaign. I don't. And they succeeded because they ended up on our show. Who's the next corporate sponsor?
We
Tickets for the Formula One.
Monaco. Let's go.
I was just going to say, I think Nick doesn't like Red Bulls because it hurts his tummy. So I can understand why he doesn't like that.
Okay.
Tickets for the Formula One Monaco Grand Prix were issued as NFTs minted on the Polygon blockchain over the weekend, and they provided fans with future race discounts, hospitality benefits, and enhanced transparency. The Central Bank of Brazil released the final list of participants for its central bank digital currency pilot project, otherwise known as CBDCs, and it included major local banks and multinational companies like Visa and Microsoft. So they're continuing the CBDCs. It looks like they're coming and they're not leaving. Nick, do you have any of these stories that stick out to you in particular? I know you weren't a huge fan of the Red Bull one or the Formula One.
No, I'm fine with it. But like the other thing, where do I find this collection? How do I buy one of these Monaco Grand Prix tickets?
Actually, I didn't find that on. we can try to find it on OpenSea.
I couldn't find it on OpenSea either. I was looking. It's a
Which-
Polygon NFT.
These sorts of announcements are some of the most annoying ones ever because you can't actually find. We should just have a rule moving forward where we don't support anyone where we can't actually take the damn action. It's
Right.
like, I'm not interested in the story. I want to go to Monaco and I want to know how much I got to pay to go to Monaco.
Fun fact, that ticket also gets you into their VIP party. So you also get access. Yeah. So I was doing some research on it because the use case I always think about is tickets. And this is like, for some reason, F1's been all over NFTs for an extended period of time now. They've been really good about it. And now seeing Monaco do this for their entire 4 or 5 day leg of this race, they said that you'll get benefits after the race ends. So for multiple years, discounts on future tickets, invites to their VIP party, and then raffles for select events for holders as well. So it seems like they actually understand this whole buy the ticket, get an NFT, reward the people who still hold the ticket.
Get a lot of juice. Yeah, you can go to the after party, do some blow with Klaus Schwab, and talk about CDBCs.
Sounds like a pretty good Tuesday.
Yeah.
Klaus Schwab?
Oh, are you not privy to the F1 scene, Nick?
Wait, is that really his name?
I have no
I've
idea.
never heard of.
I
never
have
heard
zero
of
idea.
Klaus.
I don't think
I
so.
have
Head of the World Economic Forum. Also probably likes Formula One racing.
Oh, Klaus Schwab is actually a real person. My apologies. Chairperson of the World Economic. I did not realize
You
that.
can do his accent easily, Nick.
Klaus.
Yeah, but overall though, I did think the like Easy was saying that Formula One Grand Prix NFT issuing, their biggest priority for was essentially building that brand loyalty from the fans over time. So you go here, you pick it up, and then that allows you to get further things in the future. So I did like that. I don't know if it's sellable. I wasn't able to find it on OpenSea or anywhere, but that was a big win for Formula One and Polygon again going.
Sorry, I just wanted to say Miguel Ribeiro says Monaco sucks. There were negative overtakes. That is one of the situations with Monaco. That track is so tight. Literally, it's kind of the worst part. Have you seen what's the F1 show on Netflix?
Drive to Survive.
Yeah, it's so good. And every time they go to Monaco is just this historic place. But the distinction is the cars used to be those thin bullets, right? I feel like they were way skinnier, so you could actually get around people. Now the cars are wide, and so you can't actually proceed around anybody. And then if there's an accident, it just ends the race. There's no, you have to just shut down. So it's not as good of a track to watch. I do agree with that, but people don't come there for the race. To be completely honest, they come there for the yacht parties. And as someone who really is on the yacht party circuit, I just feel like it is really an important sort of location and historic location from that standpoint as well, because it's been one of the longest running F1 venues. So I just think I would like to go one time and go onto the yacht with all my F1 friends. For every summer I do it, but I just thought maybe this could elevate that experience, and I wanted to see what the price was.
Yeah, and you get to watch for a mediocre racing experience, but a phenomenal yacht experience. So, yeah, if we can
That's what you're
find the
optimizing for, you're not going down to Qatar to go on the yacht experience, right? You're going to Monaco for that experience.
100%. So that, I think that's a good enough coverage there of the Formula One story. One of the things that caught my eye over the weekend, and I know you guys have been pretty in the weeds with, was the Bitcoin Ordinals takeover just continuing. At one point on Crypto Slam, I don't know how accurate this is as far as their leaderboard, but I did see that they had done $2.4 million. Sorry, 0xBT, the big token that was kind of all over the timeline over the last week or so, that they had done over $2.4 million in 24-hour volume. Kicks, Easy, and Nick, I know you guys were kind of all over this one. Did you buy into this? Were you able to sell? I'm curious, Nick, what your experience was.
Easy. Did you sell?
I've sold 3,000.
Well, that's how many I bought. So
I have 120,000 left.
Wow. So
I was aggressive.
You bought low?
Yeah, I mean, when I texted you when it was sub 10 cents, I was like, dude, this is a no-brainer. You were like, yeah, well, how do we feel about this? And I was like, I'm gonna just keep
I
buying.
just didn't take the opportunity to buy it. Went down to like 3 cents.
3 cents. And my average buy is like, I think 6 cents. Cause as soon as it dipped under 10, I just started aggressively buying. Like I was bridging Bitcoin. I was buying Bitcoin on Coinbase to send in. I was doing everything I could to just continue to keep buying it. I was up to like 125K. And I think I've officially sold about 5K, which is paid for the rest of the bag.
Yeah, I didn't buy any because I'm not an Easy's like cool kid.
You were on the allow list, Kicks.
Not in your text. Not in your texts.
Okay, I will say I did not personally message you, but I knew that if I did not give Nick and Pio a win here, they'd probably put me on a pip.
I get it. I
they'd probably put me on a pip.
Here's the trade that I had though. ETH. I bought a bag of that earlier this weekend because Kix's favorite Bollinger Band squeeze setup was lining up perfectly there. Ooh. And I was just watching that play out and decided to ape in further to ETH. It is an interesting sort of technical setup right now. I actually, this looks really good for like, I think this looks like an ETH to 2200 sort of situation. Is what I'm sort of eyeing at the moment, and I'm debating actually even putting more in at this moment.
Oh yeah, that was a great squeeze there, Nick.
Well, and we haven't even seen like it had gotten so tight that the last time I looked back at this, we saw a run back in January where ETH was at 1200. And then it ran up to 1600 at that point off of that one squeeze. And this one just looks really compelling. So yeah. I don't know. I'm interested to see if
the thing going on with ETH right now that I think is interesting is the whole narrative is around this Chinese like retail adoption opening up in the coming weeks.
Oh, here we go again.
No, I know, but so like everyone always memes about like in crypto, like this like concept of like, oh, Chinese retail is going to come and buy my bags, like, and it never happens.
Asia.
But like, no, but like actually China specifically is opening up the ability for retail investors to trade. And this is like, everyone expects this to be a big catalyst. And I know a lot of people who are of the opinion of like, oh, this is a crowded trade, right? So like this should be priced in. This is known for a while. And then I also know people who are of the opinion of like, just make the trade because everyone is like ignoring this because they're like, oh, fine, like finally Chinese.
Don't middle curve it. Don't middle curve this trade. It is everyone talks about Asia waking up and buying the bags, and now they're literally opening up the opportunity to make it seamless for the East to purchase these in Hong Kong across only registered exchanges.
So easy? I did see that. So as far as like June comes out,
Hong Kong specifically. Is the specific area in which retail investors in Hong Kong can purchase approved crypto assets. And they do also note digital collectibles in there.
What's the timeline on that? Because I saw June being like, okay, that's when
June 1st is when they actually open it up. It is June 1st. They are legally allowed to purchase through approved exchanges. And Huobi is one of the exchanges.
And how do you feel like I'm more on Spencer's side that this might already be priced in. Do you feel like it'll have?
Don't middle curve it.
No, I'll be honest. I think don't middle curve it.
You don't middle curve it. You either say no one's buying this, which is the left side of the curve, or you say this is the easiest trade you can make. And I'm not saying this is gonna like send ETH to fucking 6,000, but like, do we see a short-term pump? I think so. And I think like when you look at the actual market right now, debt ceiling in the US has been pushed indefinitely to 2025 with no cap on it. So that opens up basically just more money printer for the US. On top of this, now you have Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, and I think there's like 3 or 4 more other coins that they can purchase that are all approved to be purchased on very structured exchanges, which in general has been an effort for individuals to purchase in that country. And to me, I just think like this is going to open up just an easier opportunity for people to buy.
Kix, is there anything that you'd like to say here?
Yeah, I mean, I thought China was able to buy crypto for a long time, but I like the narrative. So let's fucking pump these bags, baby.
I thought you were about to speak Chinese, but you know that would have been
that was the opportunity.
Inappropriate.
Yeah, no, I'm still working on the syntax. As you said, it's more about how you say it, not what you say. It's more about the
absolute madness when we cannot repeat that. But Yeah, the only other thing I did see was, and I don't know if this all of a sudden, like now that the narrative comes up that people start adding to it, but over the weekend I saw there was like a Chinese artist that was performing that had like a Cryptopunk jacket that people were freaking out about. Is there easy? Do you know anything about the digital collectible side of it? I know they put Meebits were on TV and that was kind of a big piece. And now we got CryptoPunks being talked about as far as being shown in a big concert over the weekend. What's the story there?
Dude, to be honest with you, I'm not fully sure. They posted Meebits, which was interesting to me, and then they posted Samoyed token, which was really interesting because it was a Solana SPL token, and they had a QR code that you could scan, and it would take you to an exchange to buy like a shitcoin on Sol. It was like the weirdest thing to see, like those two projects. There was also a 6-piece collection that launched. That's an IRL music group out of the East that was selling for 20 ETH per individual person of this like 6-person band. So like I think we're gonna see like some of this, but like I just think that this is one of those, for me at least, I want to see where the liquidity goes. I want to see if we catch that short-term volatility, and then I want to exit and then just kind of like reassess down the line.
Got it.
Yeah, it's also like, but you know, as much as I'm like, I think don't middle curve this, like there is this very real chance that should be talked about of like, it could very much be the case that this is actually a nothing burger. Everyone in Hong Kong who wanted access to exchanges just like had it through some sort of sketchy exchange and VPN anyway. And like, I think that you'd be a fool to think that there wasn't some amount of this catalyst priced in currently to ETH. So if it doesn't happen, if it is the case that there isn't additional buy pressure, etc., then I think we could see a really big sell-off in ETH that a lot of people aren't expecting.
So Spencer, I mean, and ETH has been pretty much a stable coin, quote unquote, for the last like month and a half. I know you were pretty much saying 2 weeks ago when we covered the debt ceiling being raised, or is the US going to default? You pretty much call that a huge nothing burger. It was going to get raised, and it's just a matter of not if, but when. There was a slight bump up to like 1900 in ETH. Despite this like pretty much perfect environment for NFTs over the last month and a half, it's been pretty silent. What do you make of what's been going on in the ETH market right now? It being so quiet that Nakamigos are basically the biggest story.
Define for me perfect environment for NFTs. I'm not going to buy that we're in a perfect environment for NFTs until interest rates come down across the board, right? And so like I've been saying this on the show. I think we're in a slow bleed period, right? This slow bleed, there's nothing that's going to stem it except for interest rate decreases, I think, right? And so I don't see those happening until 2024 at the earliest. And so what is like the role of someone participating in the NFT market right now is I think there are acute market dislocations of things where it's like, okay, there's something that is just egregiously mispriced, right? And you know what? Because there's low volumes, because there's low liquidity, the market isn't going to reprice it. And so you have all this time to look at, collect more data, collect more information, such that when a bigger repricing does happen, you're in the know more about, okay, what has the chance to rip really hard, right? This Nakamigos stuff, like, I don't know, like I'm staying away from that whole ecosystem, from any of the Ben.eth stuff. It just all feels really icky to me, and it feels interconnected in a way that I don't like. Like let's say that Ben is involved with the founders of Nakamigos. Is that bullish? No, right? Like that man is. I mean, I don't know. I have some opinions about where I think all that stuff is headed. Releasing a coin where you keep 97% of supply, is that the person who you want championing your shit? Like if your shit's ripping because that's the person buying it, like okay, like cool, right? This is also where it's like people who were when Machi was the biggest blur farmer, like I was pretty outspoken that I don't think it's a good idea to bid farm during that period of time, because he's just like putting random lazy bids super high. You're going to get wrecked just like trying to follow him, right? And so it's that kind of stuff where I think that like, if you're a smart market participant, which I'm hoping the listeners of the show are, like, I don't think you're looking for things to cook that hard in the coming time. I think you're looking for things that are like, who's out there, who's performing, who's doing well. Like you said, there's a big retracement on Pudgies. This huge retracement on Pudgies is them going back to where they were pre-toy launch, right? And like, I don't think that's so unhealthy, but you as a market participant now have more information than you did pre-toy launch, right? So look at that. associate what you want to see. It's the same price as before, because in this environment, like zoom out for a second, right? Like we're talking, K-Bro brought it up. So we're going to talk about all-time highs. We're going to talk about last cycle, right? Like if you're looking at Bored Apes, you're like, oh my God, I missed Bored Apes at like 38 ETH because now they're at 42 ETH. And you're thinking on a 2 to 3 year time horizon, you're doing it wrong, right? Just like it doesn't matter. If you have the thesis that NFTs will come back and go back to all-time highs or anywhere near where they were last cycle, right? Then 38 versus 42 is like, it's meaningless. 6 versus 5 is whatever, right? Like if you're like, okay, I think that Pudgies can become a project that's as big as a top project was in 2021. Top projects in 2021, 2022, early 2022, like had like all of them had like a 20 ETH floor with ETH at 3K, right? So you're talking 60 grand floor price on like any reasonable top NFT collection. If we go back to that environment, then we're looking at what, 5 or 6 ETH right now is the difference between $10,000 and $12,000, right? So if your target 60, do you care about 10 versus 12? Like not at all.
So I think your perspective is a right one from a long-term investor, and by long-term I mean greater than 3 months in this space, but more likely longer than 6 to 12 months. The other perspective is that of the founders who are running or operating those businesses that are saying, how do I essentially differentiate us, and how do I make, more importantly, I've spoken to a lot of founders over the past couple of weeks, and universally, a lot of them, they're all focused on floor price. I'm not going to like specify who said what, but if you think about like, clearly Kevin Rose is obsessed with the floor price. He's taking a look at it, whether or not you agree with his statement, which I think is kind of impossible to, but whether or not you agree with the statement, he is focused and obsessed on that floor price side of things. And I think this is where there's like a lot of difficulty for people who are operating these businesses to say, what do I need to do in order to make price go up? And I think if you look at even Pudgy, is disconcerting is like if I were running Pudgy and I were Luca and we're looking at this thing and I'm saying, we drop all of these awesome things, like because they were kind of the talk of the town last week with the toys, and I look at the floor price pullback, I'm saying, God, what do I need to do? But if you look at the chart, he's doing it. Like it dropped as low as 3.5 ETH. We're seeing an accumulation in the price, turnaround. I would say just continue executing is the main thing. And I think that's the job of all these founders. There's only one thing you can do. There's only one thing. Well, there's two. Actually, there's two. One thing that the two options that founders have is just define and execute. So like define the plan, execute on the plan. And then the other second category is manipulate the floor. That would be another option theoretically that you actually do have the option of, and that some projects are actively doing, is basically figuring out backdoor deals to somehow drive sweeps of the floor. The situation, what the goal is in that process, though, the sweeps of the floor are harder to sustain at this moment in time because there's not enough consumer buyer demand to come in and get those individual one NFT buyers that are actually going to diamond hand it to this higher level, because inherently this is a market that washes out the majority of retail. That's how the market operates. So they're just not there ready to pick up those bags. And so I think that's where like any sustained floor price at this point over a certain level, I'm kind of skeptical of.
But here's a different thing though too, is like I don't think success is just based.
I think you got to put away your.
We have feedback coming in, so it's coming from somebody.
So
Spencer on your phone.
Right, I'm throwing my phone elsewhere, but I don't think the feedback's for me. Anyway, No,
can you try muting Spencer? Wait.
No, let's just go ahead. Like continue forward.
Plowing forward.
Yeah.
All right. So look, okay, here's the thing is I when it comes to pudgies and these kinds of things, like I think that we are too stuck in success metric being floor price go up versus rotation within holders, right? And this is something that I was looking at a lot with pudgies, and as just one example, but across other collections as well. Like if you have holders who have held since the last market, like Pudgy specifically had people who bought in at like zero cost basis, essentially, right? When it was a rugged project back in the day, like those people will sell out eventually, and they're sell out sooner than people who bought later, right? And so if you have, like there's one holder, 9x9x9, this guy, he held like 200 big Pudgies, and he dumped all of them into the last run, right? He was an OG holder. He holds still one of ones, but he used to hold 200 Pudgies. And a lot of the pullbacks after it went to 7 was just him selling 200 Pudgies. And so now you have 200 Pudgies. It didn't go to one other whale that concentrated in 200 Pudgies, right? It went across a whole bunch of different holders that are, now going to do well. You see, they went all the way back down to 3. They're back up to 5. They went to 6. 6. I thought the sell-off from 6 could go back to 3, but it didn't, right? Why? Because those 200 Pudgies that were net new to the market rotated into like other people's hands. And like, I just think that is a healthy part of ecosystems that we don't talk enough about. And I see this in some of the ecosystems that aren't doing well, is it's just the same people. And I think that one of the things, like we talk about this in economics with the velocity of the dollar, like the velocity of an NFT is actually a valuable aspect to that NFT. You as the project founder want your NFTs to change hands some amount such that you have new entrants that come in, people who are freshly excited. Like this is one of the things that I think we see with like the Solana ecosystem that got bridged over from DODs is they're new to ETH. They're newly excited about stuff, right? Like that is an interesting group of people who aren't like disillusioned from watching the product bleed for like 18 months, watching all their bags bleed for 18 months. And this is like the challenge of like when we got like this is the challenge that all the big projects had that were at that 20 ETH floor before.
Spencer, real quick, I got to jump in. Sorry, your echo is apparently really bad in the Twitter space.
It's coming from you, Clemente. When you mute yourself, it's all good.
All right, is this fixing it?
It's not fixing it. It's coming from you, Clemente, because you can hear the thing come. So move your phone away from where
it's not my phone. Spencer, can you try muting yourself?
All right.
And we'll keep going, and I think it goes away. Yeah, so it's coming from Spencer. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that in the Twitter space. We have it sorted. I think Spencer tried turning. I think we're good now. Here we go. Okay, we're back in business. Sorry, Spencer. Can you keep going?
All right. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh no, it's back.
All right. Well, we'll figure this out. I'll pause.
Echo, Clemente. So mute yourself during that time. We're gonna kick both of these guys off the show.
I got 800 megabytes over here, dude. I'm
what
doing
we're gonna do.
Just way to speed test. I'm at 906 kicks. We feel, dude, we're moisturized. We're unbothered. We're living
so
well.
Moisturized.
So moisturized.
The Clemente Spencer duo is causing issues. Regardless, the bottom line is the synopsis here is that basically Spencer is saying the floors are becoming more distributed through this shift. So that's in the process of happening. The other thing that we have going on is floor prices going down to enable those people to come in. And all that we're waiting for then is the next bull market. Or we're aping into degen trades like Nakamigos, which for whatever reason is back. I don't know what the momentum is coming from associated for that. Anybody else know? And also Opepen is back on the move as well.
So it was my fault. I found it. I had accidentally unmuted when I tossed my phone across the room. That's on me. But the Nakamigos thing is because Ben.eth literally bought like 300 Nakamigos with the money that he got from one of his like shitcoin pre-sales.
He owns 500.
Sorry, 500 Nakamigos.
He's the highest holder, and he already said last night he's buying 200 more. Yeah, he said if the floor keeps dumping, I will back up the Brinks truck. So yeah, he's all in. He's only done 3 pre-sales. He's only raised 10,000 ETH, and now it's not just Nakamigos, by the way. So it also turns out that there's a Milady's iteration of nouns called bonklers. So they go for about 8 ETH, one a day. And yesterday he swept about 250 ETH worth from his alt wallet, waifu.tv. So yeah, just absolutely crazy swing. He was buying them from 16 ETH all the way up to 40 ETH.
He was apparently drunk last night on a space saying a bunch of things that would get him arrested or something. I don't know. That's what the Discord was saying. They were up late. I was already asleep because well, I'm an old man. So that's what was going on there. But as it applies to the top market right now, when we look at the top, actually, here's another interesting thing. What the hell is going on with OpenSea's update of when you click on top and trending, it now defaults to 1 hour time frame. So you don't actually.
It's my favorite thing in the world. It's a dumpster fire every time. Like some collections are like half a Matic. Some collections are like 20 ETH. There's nothing good that you see on there. It's chaos every time. You can get no insightful information. The bull market's back, baby.
The trending collection is Reaps, #1 right now in the last hour.
Whatever that is, but if you look at the past 24 hours, that thing is actually that's number 6. I have no idea what that is. Lo-Fi Pepe, Treasures, Rad Bro, Webring, Rad Cats.
Rad Bro, we bring Rad Cats.
Are
lady
you,
derivative.
Got it. Okay. Well, I don't know. This leaderboard looks ridiculous at this moment in time. Although you got Opepen in there, which we had discussed, I think, last week. Is that in anticipation of the PFP drop?
Well, Opepen, yeah. So they do like regular. They almost do like a seize the meme, not exactly, but sort of like kind of scheduled drops. So basically, like every couple of weeks or whatever like that, there's like a new edition, new collab of the different artists, and people can basically like almost enter a raffle to potentially get one of those with their Opepen holdings. But like that has rallied also, I think, off of the successful Christie's auction, and there's a lot of positive catalysts there. But yeah, that was down at 0.15 for a few days, like when shitcoin season was at its peak. So I mean, that's a huge trade there. And yeah, I mean, there's the unique holder count's actually going down. It's very much like whales accumulating heavily. Speaking of people that own a lot, we said Ben had like 500 Nakamigos. Bored Elon Musk has 700 Opepens.
700, and they've been crushing. So Nick, essentially the way it works is Jack Butcher does these like small editions. So he collaborates, and I don't know the exact numbers, but he'll go ahead and drop like 100 of this upcoming drop, and he'll collaborate with an artist for it, and people can opt in to go into the raffle to be picked for. So people get randomly picked to own one of those Opepen editions, and then those Opepen editions receive much more volume. And you basically get a profit if you get chosen for the raffle. So it's literally like a little raffle system that people can opt into. And over, I believe 60% of people opted in to try to come up and win the last edition drop. So whatever he's doing, it's been working. And yeah, they're sitting at 0.8 right now, and they're continuing to rip off each continual drop. So the trickle system he's built out for it, for the reveal process for these, has been extremely successful over time.
All right. Well, it's trending as well. So that's the conclusion of that.
Put some ranch on that. Call it a meal.
Yeah. Well,
Spencer,
throw it on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say also like just to put a bow on my very echoey rant from earlier. There's one thing here, which is like we're talking about Opepen, we're talking about there's a couple of stuff that's going on right now in the market that's super interesting, but like I think the mistake too, I talk about like a slow bleed. And if Clemente, if you can pull up that graph that I sent there, like the thing you got to realize is like it's not NFTs that are bleeding, it's everything that's bleeding, right? It's everything in crypto, it's everything in public markets, etc. Like this is just kind of how the market is right now. This is what Clemente is pulling up. If you go to the 3-year time horizon, go to the look, like the exchange volumes across the board are just down, right? Like if you're talking crypto exchanges, you're talking like NFT exchanges, everything is down a lot. We probably hit bottom in terms of volumes right around when FTX collapse happened, right? Like that's probably when I don't see us going that much lower than there, but like it's kind of just been a slow bleed. And so it's not, you're like, oh no, the NFT market is dead. Well, all of these markets are dead, right? Like that's like, these are all trending towards zero. We're playing games, we're doing stuff in the interim, but you got to zoom out and see the big picture. The reason to be here right now, though, is that you think that it will be undead again. And like, if you learn anything from the last cycle, it's that the people who benefited the most from the undeading of crypto were the people who stuck around during the dead period, paid attention, knew what was going on, and accumulated a couple of large positions in certain things they just had high conviction on, right? And I think like it's easy to miss the forest for the trees, especially if you're someone who trades like day to day. But look at the market, look at where we are. Things are bleeding. Everything's bleeding. It's not an NFT thing. It's a crypto thing. It's not just a crypto thing. It's basically every market thing, right? Like if you look at even private markets, right? This is just kind of how things are. But like,
isn't some of the stock market doing good? Like Nvidia is up insane, and like
$1
yeah,
trillion
and
market
Pepe's
cap.
up, and Pepe's up, and Opepen's up. But it, like, yes, like the whole market can bleed, and there are still things that do well, right?
Yeah.
Like you can still print the market's bleed. Like there are trades that print in terrible markets, but it's like that's very hard to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think that the question, Spencer, there that most people are thinking about is not necessarily like, okay, probably everyone that's here thinks that at some point we're going to see some run back up and positive price action with most NFTs that were able to gather attention. The biggest thing that I'm thinking about is what are those opportunities going to be? My fear for the ETH ecosystem is the lack of new participants from a project and a founder point of view that are like, when was the last time we were excited about an upcoming drop that was coming up? And the attention that's been surging to ordinals, like, hey, is the next run only going to be ordinals and maybe like Polygon? And my fear is that maybe during the next leg up, other than these blue chips, the 7 to 8 blue chip collection that we're seeing now, then maybe they won't be able to gather the same amount of attention that they saw before.
Yeah, I mean, look, like it's going to be a very small number of things that run in the next cycle really hard, and people are going to be really upset that their bags aren't running. Why do I say this? Because it's what happened in 2016 to 2021 in traditional crypto. I always say this, like the smartest people I knew in crypto in 2016 held a bag of Bitcoin, held a bag of ETH, and a bag of Litecoin. And if you were around in 2016, it wasn't obvious that Litecoin was going to do nothing in 2021 cycle, right? Like I can't even give you a good explanation for why it just like didn't do anything similar to what ETH did, right? But that was a smart bag to hold. And anyone who held those three things, you weren't like, oh no, my Litecoin. You were like, okay, the rest of this shit's up like 3 to 10x. Like, cool, right? Like this is awesome. And so, you know, I think it's gonna be the same thing here where like, I think we'll have these other narratives, but in crypto, people usually go back to like the original thing where it all started, right? And this is where like, I think the highest conviction, simplest thing is just Cryptopunks, right? Like this is one of the biggest bull thesis on like ETH NFTs is that Cryptopunks will be Cryptopunks in the next cycle. The only risk is if there's bigger Yuga risk and Cryptopunks get dragged down with it. That I think is a very interesting outcome that could happen, right? Like this ApeCoin stuff could go real bad. You have Yuga in like a terrible spot. Punks kind of go down with the Yuga ship, although I don't think that happens, but it's a reasonable narrative construct. The thing that I struggle to see is a world where you have just ordinals do well or just Polygon NFTs do well without like there being at least 1 to 3 collections on ETH that also do well. It's not going to be all of them, but it'll be like 1 to 3, I think.
And I'll, sorry, Nick, go ahead before I throw to Bunny.
I think the CryptoPunks, I don't think has the amount of risk there. I feel like is relatively limited, and it's more insulated. I'm actually more curious as to like what the next. I was thinking about that this weekend. I was like, CryptoPunks doesn't trade around anticipated announcements, for example. Like it just doesn't. That's not how it operates. There may be like a CryptoPunks drop or sale at an auction house or something like that, but that's already happened. So it's not like a new thing. It's just an ongoing thing. The real question is, what are the things that can happen for CryptoPunks that make it or verify its position or validate its position as kind of the leading NFT that traditional art collectors are going to be interested in, versus like it's those, and then you have the generative art side like Fidenzas and Squiggles and anything else in that area. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens there. I'm loving the floor action though, and it's pretty clear that like those still remain a top collection with a floor over $100,000 or around that at this point, $90,000, whatever it's at. It's looking pretty strong. So I'm like that's also why, to your point, Spencer, I'm like, would you rather own an ape or a punk? Right now, that position for me shifted to punk, but I don't know. I'm curious. Theoretically, though, I feel like you still want some sort of exposure to Yuga as well. And my path for that has been mutants, because it's a lower risk. And if you wanted to deploy the same amount, you could get 5 of something versus 1 of something. And theoretically, the mutant should have some correlated upside there.
Well, I think like the big, most confusing, controversial, and interesting decision to make as someone building a portfolio in NFTs is your stance on ApeCoin and regulatory risk. That to me is the biggest question mark in the whole space right now, right? I think it would be obvious that the better exposure was Bored Apes over punks if it wasn't for this case, because Bored Apes yielding ApeCoin via staking is a really significant value proposition of apes, and the percentages on that staking yield are high if you have long-term thesis on ApeCoin. The risk is we know there's an SEC probe into ApeCoin. Like, this is known information. You talk to different lawyers, you get different opinions of what the risks are, but they're very real, right? Like, this is not something where it's like, probably it's fine. This is something where it's like 50-50 at best. This is like really big issue versus like not issue. And the question is also like time horizon. Like, when does this issue come to a head? Is it something that they made an example of in the next market, et cetera? What is the trickle effect of that risk? Like, imagine the SEC comes out and like ApeCoin was a security. We're going after you for securities fraud, Yuga Labs tomorrow. Like, what happens to the NFT market? I think that takes down Bored Apes really, really far, right? Like, you see huge sell-off in Bored Apes, probably huge sell-off in ApeCoin. Like, okay, they come out and they say, hey, Coinbase, you can't let people trade ApeCoin, right? Like, there's all these risks associated to ApeCoin. Now, I think if that happens, this is impossible to avoid exposure to, right? Like, everything in the NFT space, I think, sells off really hard into that news if that's the case. So you're going to get exposure to that anyway. The question is, how hard do punks sell off if there's an issue with ApeCoin, right? If the SEC comes out and screws Yuga Labs via ApeCoin, which is a very real possibility, what is the punk exposure? I think it's naive to think that punks are just not exposed to that, right? Punks are owned by Yuga Labs. Yuga Labs is the company that would have the SEC regulatory issue. And that is like that is the big risk of punks. Like, this would be a totally different conversation if punks were not owned by Yuga Labs.
That said, you can't shut down punks at this point, right? Like, it's fully on chain. So I think that's something that, and so technically the apes are fully on chain as well. And I'd assume the mutants have a similar setup at this point. So they can't even modify it. I think they sent it to control over that contract to actually, how do they get the royalties? There needs to be some sort of proxy that they have control over. I don't know. I don't know the logistics.
Well, also, like, you can't forget too that punks technically can only be traded. I mean, so you can wrap punks and trade them elsewise, but like, technically speaking, like, punks are really only tradable via their own contract on the punks website, which is maintained by Yuga Labs. So like, what would happen to punks if Yuga Labs just like turned off the punks website?
I see what you're saying. Someone could spawn up another marketplace to do the same thing. And I think that site is open source. I'm not 100% certain about that, but I think the repo for it is publicly available. So someone could just clone it and make another one. But yeah, it's still it's still not at the official site. Then you could have like, that'd be a perfect fishing opportunity there. Like, so.
Yeah, well, I want to throw to a resident Bored Ape Yacht Club expert, Bunny. Bunny, I see your hand raised. Want to jump in here?
No, I forgot, dude. Nick went on a tangent for quite a bit, dude.
Figure it out, Bunny.
Kicks, I see you're unmuted.
Dude, 10 times since I put my fucking hand up. Let me figure it out.
Oh, you're gonna run that lip like that, dude? That's ridiculous, man. How about you step up, take it like a professional, and give us the commentary that we've been waiting for.
And also, bozo take. You'd rather have 5 mutants than one actual ape. Yeah, great. Good luck with 5 illiquid assets instead of 1.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point, guys. Right before we do finish up, one of the things I was curious about, wanted to get your thoughts on is Azuki and Beans have kind of caught my eye over the last week. The big catalyst that I've seen that, like Spencer was talking about earlier, I don't know if it's been fully kind of priced in. My personal take is that Azuki's going to absolutely crush it in their Vegas party that's coming up in 3 weeks. Beans are sitting at 1.35-ish. We have Azuki at about 14.8, 15 ETH. Do you guys think that that could be primed for a run in June? Nick, what are your thoughts here on Azuki, Vegas, and possibly a big announcement coming from them?
We need to get a resident expert on Azuki, to be completely honest, because
Go buy one.
No, I'm good. It's not. I don't know. You know, they're one of the collections that I've heard murmurs of questionable activity, and it's really difficult for me to say. The one thing I will say is they are ramping up their team. They have a great team over there that's building out product, and I'm curious to see what their metaverse play is. That's kind of when you read a lot of their messaging is focused around the metaverse that they're building. What does that mean? And is that something that's relevant nowadays? Like,
yeah, I think it's built off Elon Musk's Neuralink. So you're going to have a Neuralink to be able to get into it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, that's going to make it, well, that's going to create friction, you know, because you're going to need to literally have
if you don't have a Neuralink, it's pretty frictionless if you do have it installed.
Okay.
Easy. Do you have any exposure to Beans or Azuki here? Do you have any expectations for their party coming up?
I just think that June has a lot of catalysts for a lot of projects. So until we actually see like an influx of liquidity in general, it's going to be tough for me to try to like hyper focus on one. You have Captain's Reveal, speculation on meme coin. They teased a Rickroll for the meme coin withdrawal. You have the Azuki IRL event. You have Heavy Metal and Legends of Mara kicking off as well. There's a couple other key things that are going down there too. So like just across the board, those are what, D-God Season 3, Ute Season 2. So right there's 5 catalysts for some of the larger price collections. And with where the current liquidity sits, it's going to be tough for me to see all of them pump simultaneously. We just got Ether announcement for their mint at the end of June. So June is just chock full of stuff. We got the dogs in June as well. So like Doggo's kicking off. Yeah, Ether is the project. It's been a year plus in the making. Mint price is 1 ETH, and it's arguably like the most hyped collection at the moment. They also have like you can mint it for free if you lock up the NFT for 6 months. So like there's going to be this like interesting dynamic that goes into that, where like there's just a lot going on in June, like all around NFTs. Moonbird's Mythics also coming up as well. So like I just continue to like run through this list. It seems like everyone's sandbagged for like an NFT June, which I'm for. But yeah, it's
I agree with you though, because I mean it's like hard enough to get all those collections pumping concurrently in a bull market, much less like a low volume market they're in. I mean,
21-day span is going to be even crazier.
I think the most impressive thing about Azuki is that it's like the only other PFP project outside of the Yuga Labs ecosystem that has held above a 10 ETH floor like consistently in this market for a long period of time. So I mean, I like hats off to the team and all of the holders. Just like me personally, you know, if I just look at my spreadsheet of my, you know, trades, I'm not a good trader when I'm buying things that expensive. You know what I mean? Like, and especially in this market, it makes me even more a little hesitant because like I'm a 2x maxi, right? So if I'm buying anything, I want to see it like, you know, 2x. So if I'm buying Azuki for 15 ETH, that's almost 30 grand. Like I'm hoping that these things go to 60 grand for a 2x. So like for me, it's just tough to do. Now, as you mentioned, Beans, right? Like one of my favorite trades in the Yuga Labs ecosystem was I would trade the dogs. Like whenever any of the other assets pumped, I would trade the dogs because they all moved in tandem together during the bull run. And the dogs were just like easier to get. So yeah, I think if you want to make a catalyst play, loading into Beans is probably it's a lot easier to think Beans go from 1.3 to 2.6. You know what I mean? Like you can justify that trade, I think, very easily in your head. But yeah, man, I just feel like in order to really pump from these levels like that's got to be a sick metaverse. And I almost wish they never even announced the metaverse because I feel like they would be at 15 ETH even without it. And I just think that the expectations versus reality when it comes to these metaverse plays very rarely, you know, hold up well. They certainly don't have the funds to do something like other deed level, right? At least I don't think so. So what is it going to be? More of like a social experience metaverse? I mean, we'll have to see. But yeah, I would maybe look at Beans, but personally right now, I just feel like I'm sitting and I'm waiting for the trades to come to me. I am kicking myself over Opepen because I think that we talked about this on the show, and I personally talked about it. I think like where you make the big money in NFTs is when you get into projects that are like actually doing something, different or innovative and can hold a narrative for a sustained period of time. And we've mentioned Jack Butcher all the time. So, Opep and literally the trade, the trade is to buy these kinds of things when everybody was like peak FOMO in shitcoins. Right. And to be able to get an Opepen at, below 0.2 and now it's 0.8. I mean, that's a 4x in less than 2 weeks. It's hard to find that kind of trade in any market. But yeah, big fan of what he's doing over there.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Butcher has clearly shown an ability to gather and sustain attention over a long period of time, and not using different pretty much just using art and like cool mechanics with the art that he's doing, and teasing that out over a period of time while building it live with people, and like being very transparent about how he builds it. I know some people were saying that we haven't covered it enough because we don't have exposure to them, and part of that is we need to have a higher level of expertise. I think there's just a little bit of complexity that comes with understanding Opepen that would have been really, really important to cover while they were in this little bit of a lull. But yeah, Nick, any closing thoughts about Azuki, or maybe what's coming up in June before we wrap up and give away the free NFT?
No.
And Nick, just real quick, just wanted to get like a 1-2 sentence, your opinion on Ben Armstrong and Ben.eth launching a Uniswap competitor called PSYDEX. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't know what to. I really don't know what to take on. That's a difficult thing to provide commentary on. Do you think they're going to build the same level of trust as Uniswap? Is that even real?
I don't know. I was trying to hit you.
Dude, how do you not trust them? They've only launched 3 tokens. They plan to launch a BRC20. Ben Armstrong just fired back at Ben.eth for shilling Finale token, which turned out was actually a rogue participant on the original PSYOP dev team. Clearly, their communication's all on par. Ben Armstrong stated that if Ben.eth did not launch another token, that they would be good. But now, since saying that only 3 tokens are going to exist, there's now 2 more in the making.
Read this: 25% of LP profits are going to get airdropped to the holders. I love these guys. They're just going like
securities,
full blown. This is awesome, dude.
Yeah, but this is also like we talk about SEC risk with Apecoin. Like, hopefully the SEC
Apecoin's fine when this shit's going on. This is like a cloud of cover.
That's the bull case, is that the SEC gets so bogged down with all of the other more like less subtle things that they're like like Apecoin, whatever. Right? That's the bull case.
Yeah.
Gensler's just licking his chops, just watching what these guys are doing right now.
Like,
he's just sitting in them hearings being like, the guidance is clear. What's the guidance? Yeah. Guidance is clear. That's what he's doing.
Yeah. Bunny, I see you have your hand raised. Anything to jump in here with?
Let's do the drop.
Jesus Christ, Nick.
I'm not. Nobody's interested in what you got to say, dude.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead.
He's going to be looking into BRC20s as well, so I think he might be launching one of those soon.
Well, there you have it. Something to look forward to there. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go ahead and claim today's free NFT now if you go to the nifty.com/claim and enter the password Olympus37, OLYMPUS, and the number 37. That's the password for today, and it will give you today's free NFT. We're claiming it right now live during the show, and we have a gangbuster one today called the Bowl of Olympus. And the description of it is: the ruins of the ancient world are rampant with mystery and treasure from a time where the gods dealt punishment to those who disrespected their might. The Bowl of Olympus is found in the palace of the king of the gods and releases incredible power to any doggo that has the elusive opportunity to dine from it. So we have a great one for you today, another one in the series of Bodoggo's relics. So please go ahead and claim that at the nifty.com/claim. But ladies and gentlemen, that's your show for today. We'll be back here same time tomorrow morning. If you're listening on YouTube, drop a like, drop a comment. Let us know how you like today's show. And let us know on Twitter as well. Any likes, comments, or retweets would be absolutely appreciated. That's the show for today, and we will see you all